This week on ANN, Seventh-day Adventist leaders in the U.S. states of Texas and Ohio speak out after mass shootings in their territories.
Pastors and administrators visit immigrants at the border between the United States and Mexico.
And Loma Linda University Health is ranked the best in their region.
These stories and more coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, on Saturday, August 3, a lone gunman opened fire in an El Paso Walmart in the U.S. state of Texas. 22 people were killed and at least 26 more wounded. The suspect was captured alive and is facing charges both locally and with the federal government.
Then, in the early morning hours of Sunday, August 4, a gunman opened fire in a busy neighborhood in Dayton, Ohio, also in the United States. 9 people were killed, including the suspect's sister, and 27 more injured. The gunman was killed by police.
Hours after the shooting, Adventist church leaders in both the Texaco and Ohio conferences issued statements addressing the violent incidents.
Texaco Conference expressed their concern in a press release. We are shocked and saddened by the unspeakable tragedy that was experienced today in an El Paso Walmart as a lone gunman unloaded his weapon into a crowd of back-to-school shoppers. There is simply no rational explanation for such a heinous act of violence and destruction.
The statement shared that members worshiping in the El Paso area were made aware of this attack through an emergency alert system that erupted on their cell phones. One of the 4 churches was placed on temporary lockdown, and the police set up a command center in the parking lot to create a perimeter for the incident.
The statement concluded by saying, "The reports of the loss of life, the injuries that were sustained are heartbreaking, and we join with the many others in praying for their comfort, strength, and healing. May God grant peace and hope to these families and to all the folks in El Paso as they try to move through this dark night of fear and loss. Our hearts cry out, even so, come, Lord Jesus."
The Adventist Church in Ohio also offered a statement to address the incident that happened in their region, saying, "Many of us in the Ohio Conference of Seventh-day Adventists are heartbroken, awakened early this morning to learn of yet another mass shooting, the 250th this year, only this time in our own backyard in Dayton. We mourn the loss of innocent lives and extend our deepest condolences and prayers for the 9 people killed and at least 27 wounded or injured, their families, loved ones, and friends. We also pray for our Dayton community and the heartache and sadness experienced as a result of this tragedy."
The Ohio Conference went on to thank Dayton police and first responders as well as the medical community for their work in handling the situation and treating the injured. They also offered prayers and support for those in El Paso, Texas.
President of the Ohio Conference, Ron Halverston Jr. said, "A world filled with hate needs to see the love of Jesus in his people as never before."
We at Adventist News Network ask you to continually pray for the victims and families of those impacted by the shooting, for the church members who are ministering to and comforting their communities, and for the lawmakers and representatives of the nation. We ask that the love of Jesus and the comfort only He can bring be shown to every person through our church members.
To read the full statements of the Texaco and Ohio conferences, you can visit news.adventist.org.
If you would like to read the Seventh-day Adventist Church's official statement ban on sale of assault weapons to civilians, you can visit adventist.org, look under information, and click on official statements.
Recently, a group of administrators and pastors from the United States visited Ciudad, Mexico, where migrants who have been denied entry into the U.S. are held. President for the Northeastern Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, Daniel Honore, reported in a Facebook post that the conditions were heartbreaking. Family housing and sanitation is horrible, with no medical care available. The group saw children with skin and ear infections, but no medication. The migrants are primarily from Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. The group met with an Adventist family from El Salvador who were forced to flee when gangs threatened to kidnap their daughter from her Adventist school unless they made regular protection money payments. The father is an ordained deacon at their church in El Salvador. In addition to Honore, Southwest Regional Conference President Calvin Watkins and 13 Southwest pastors delivered 6 carloads of hygiene and grooming supplies, which the detainees greatly appreciated. Each of the 9 regional conferences contributed $1,000. Lake Region Conference President R. Cliff Jones says the plan is for Lake Region to be represented on a future trip. Jones said, "We've got to separate politics from people, especially the vulnerable and feeble. We've got to see people the way God does, especially the stranger and alien. We've got to work at restoring families, especially those fleeing inhumane conditions and persecution."
Loma Linda University Medical Center has been ranked by U.S. News and World Report as the #2 hospital in the Riverside and San Bernardino metro area for 2019-20. The medical center was also nationally ranked in gynecology and was recognized as high-performing in 7 other areas. Released today, the annual rankings are designed to assist patients and their doctors in making informed decisions about where to receive care for challenging health conditions or common elective procedures. The high-performing rating recognizes care as significantly better than the national average measured by factors such as patient outcomes. For the 2019-20 rankings and ratings, U.S. News evaluated more than 4,500 medical centers nationwide in 25 specialties, procedures, and conditions. In the 16 specialty areas, 165 hospitals were ranked in at least one specialty. In rankings by state and metro area, U.S. News recognized hospitals as high-performing across multiple areas of care. The U.S. News Best Hospitals methodologies in most areas of care are based largely on objective measures, such as risk-adjusted survival and discharge to home rates, volume, and quality of nursing, among other care-related indicators.
Hundreds of Seventh-day Adventist University students and young professionals studying on public or private campuses throughout the Inter-American Division gathered for the largest territory-wide public campus ministries congress in recent history. The event took place in Panama City, Panama, July 18 through 21. The more than 1,400 delegates met for the 4-day event to become grounded in the Word of God, to learn how to establish or strengthen centers of Christian influence in universities not operated by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and extend service into the community around them. Director for Public Campus Ministries in Inter-America, Hiram Ruiz, said, "This is the time to keep faithful to the Lord because we all have a mission to accomplish, and we need you for that. God has performed miracles in others, but wants to accomplish more through your experience in Him. For that to take place," said Ruiz, "each must understand their role of representing Jesus in the secular environments in which they study and live. They can each become an ambassador for Christ, willing and available to go where He leads." Inter-American Division President Ellie Henry spoke to the delegation on Sabbath and reminded them that God's vision for them is very large. Henry encouraged university students and professionals to not limit themselves by the problems or challenges in their lives. He encouraged them to dive deep into the Word of God and let God lead them to become a missionary to a lost world. Themed, "Send Me, I Want to Be an Ambassador," the Congress featured helpful plenary sessions and dozens of seminars by over 28 speakers. The sessions focused on sharing the gospel using all available media, establishing centers of influence on campus, reaching the postmodern individual, becoming cross-cultural missionaries locally and around the world, finding creative ways to share hope, and more. Students have impacted their campuses with health expos, cleanup activities, and many other initiatives. During a pinning ceremony at the PCM event, 108 students were recognized for their on-campus leadership. There was also a panel forum where students learned about the Adventist volunteer opportunities in their country and around the world. In addition, 6 university students were baptized during a special baptismal ceremony on Sabbath. According to Ruiz, a little over half of the delegates were young professionals.
It has been frequently reported by news media and predicted by industry groups that the United States is in dire need of qualified workers in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM fields.
According to an article published by U.S. News and World Report last summer, the country's manufacturing industry alone is projected to create about 3.5 million jobs by 2025.
As such, universities and colleges are tasked with steering students who are interested in STEM careers toward helping fill the current and anticipated gap.
At La Sierra University, an important facet of that support consists of scholarships that help students stay in school and pursue their dream careers.
Recently, the Office of Advancement held its annual scholarships award ceremony, during which more than $500,000 was formally presented to 258 students. These funds included a total of $15,000 from Edison International for 7 Edison STEM scholars and $40,000 in science scholarship awards awarded to 20 students and STEM majors from Victor and Alina Tolan.
This is the 5th grant since the 2014-15 school year that Edison International has awarded to La Sierra for scholarships benefiting students in STEM majors. In total, the energy conglomerate has given La Sierra University $90,000 in scholarship awards.
The Tolans began offering scholarships a few years ago, inspired by the ubiquitous need for graduate schools in the sciences and by the career opportunities available to students who pursue STEM majors.
Coming up, the Adventist Church in the Democratic Republic of the Congo obtains a license to operate a radio station.
But up next, 2 Camporees in Europe are wrapping up as one in the United States is set to begin.
We may look, pray, read, think, worship, sing, and share differently, but we all look forward to the Sabbath. And we all look forward to the future when Jesus will come again. With this message in mind, we arrived at a core component for a new identity system: the creation grid, a simple 7-column structure for layout. The grid is a reference both to the prophetic timeline as well as to the creation week that culminated in the 7th-day Sabbath. Regardless of what or where you are designing, you can always find information to help you communicate that we are all Seventh-day Adventists.
Welcome back.
It's the season for Pathfinder Camporees, and we start our coverage with the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Trans-European region.
Running from July 30 to August 5, the Trans-European Division Camporee was the largest to date. The Camporee brought together Pathfinders from every one of the 22 countries in the division, along with additional groups from Israel, France, Russia, and Tanzania. More than 4,000 attended.
Camper spirits were undoubtedly high, and there was a sense of expectation as various groups packed the auditorium facing a stage decorated to look like ancient Egypt, in keeping with the theme Exodus.
That theme was expanded on later in the evening as Norwegian pastor Melissa Mickelbus skillfully and colorfully took the Pathfinders on a whirlwind journey through creation, the fall, the search for God, and the false idea that Pharaoh himself should be worshipped as God. The story developed each evening.
Ron Whitehead, coordinator for the International Camporee, which begins August 12 in the U.S. state of Wisconsin, was in attendance on opening night. Whitehead was impressed not just by the numbers, but by the positive spirit of those in attendance.
The Trans-European Camporee was filled with amazing testimonies and stories. To read more, visit ted.adventist.org or on camporee.net. Here's a short report from their final night of the Camporee.
The 13th Camporee of Adventist Scouts in the Inter-European region took place July 29 to August 4. The Camporee is for young people aged 12 to 15 and took place in the Sesimbra Nature Park just outside Lisbon, Portugal. The event, which takes place every 4 years, attracted more than 2,000 Pathfinders from Southern and Western Europe. The Camporee's theme, God's Promise, I am always with you, was derived from God's promise to Joshua when he became leader of Israel. Stephen Sigg, president of the Adventist Church in Switzerland, gave a short devotional each morning and evening. The planned events and activities included excursions, a bistro with a shop, international dinners, and a Bible game. The teens helped the Adventist Development and Relief Agency with a special project so that 30 needy children in Sao Tome, an African island state near the equator, will be provided food and education for a full year. To learn more about this Camporee and hear amazing stories and testimonies, visit eudcamporee.org.
And finally, Adventists all over the world are gearing up for the Oshkosh International Camporee. More than 50,000 people are expected to attend this year's event. The Camporee occurs every 5 years at the Experimental Aircraft Association airfields in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. The Camporee will take place from August 12 through 17. We will bring you news from the Camporee after it wraps up. But if you would like to learn more and watch a live stream of programs each day, visit camporee.org. Here's a preview of the upcoming Camporee in Oshkosh.
I really like the fact that we can meet people from all over the world.
That's what we've already planned. Everyone here wants to come back again. It's just, we've had the time of our lives here. It's been great.
The Government of Democratic Republic of the Congo, or DRC, has granted a license to West Congo Union Mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church to run an FM radio station.
Soon, the radio will broadcast a message of hope from Kinshasa, the capital city of DRC.
According to the Executive Secretary for the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the West Congo, Gregory Mbaya, Adventist World Radio, or AWR, organized the negotiations between the government and the church. AWR is also ready to assist in equipment and training.
In DRC, radio remains the most affordable media option because 80% of the population live in poverty. Radio will now give the population of Kinshasa and other cities a fresh opportunity to receive the waves of hope.
Coming up, Victoria Turrentine addresses the issue of bullying through social media.
But up next, Adventist Mission has a story of a man from Moldova who can't wait to share Jesus with others.
Then Esther sent this reply to Mordecai. Go and gather all the Jews who are in Susa together, and pray and fast for me. Do not eat or drink anything for 3 days and nights. I and my maidens will fast as you do. After that, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish.
Welcome back.
Vladimir is fearless. Without hesitation, he approaches strangers with books, newspapers, and invitations to events.
The special message he has to share makes him bold.
Adventist Mission has more.
Vladimir is fearless. Without hesitation, he often approaches strangers with books, newspapers, and invitations to events. The special message he has to share makes him bold. As a global mission pioneer, Vladimir's job is to mingle and share Jesus with the people in Moldova's capital city, Chisinau. He's a canvassing pioneer, selling and giving books on spiritual topics. For the past few weeks, Vladimir has been visiting Angela, bringing her the latest issue of the local Adventist church's newspaper. She loves reading the articles and completing the short Bible studies that are included. As Vladimir visits her today, Angela promises that she will visit the local Adventist church soon. For those with little spiritual interest, Vladimir offers books on health and wellness. This is a topic of growing interest in Chisinau, so most people are happy to accept the books. When someone shows interest in health, Vladimir invites them to visit the nearby Global Mission Urban Center of Influence. This Urban Center of Influence is a health center attached to a church. Visitors are particularly drawn to the health food store. At the front of the building, the center proudly displays different programs and services for passersby to check out. Larissa is the center's coordinator and global mission pioneer. For today's program, she invited a local doctor to lead a discussion with community members about healthy habits. This doctor regularly volunteers her time at the Urban Center of Influence and has developed a strong relationship with the Adventist Church. The community members are eager to learn about living healthy lives. Zenaida is a frequent visitor. She was suffering from serious health problems when she discovered this center. Larissa invited her on regular walks, and the two soon became friends.
We talked a lot during the walks, especially about Christian topics. Then Larissa started studying the Bible with me. I had a Bible at home for many years, but never touched it. I thought I had no time for it. Now I find time to read it every day.
In time, Zenaida decided to give her heart to Jesus and was baptized into the Adventist Church. If it weren't for Larissa, the gospel may not have been shared so clearly with many of the community members. Please pray for global mission pioneers like Larissa, who are on the front lines of mission. It's through your giving that pioneers and urban centers of influence can operate across the globe. Thank you for supporting global mission.
Watch this and other mission stories online by visiting AdventistMission.org, then click on videos at the top.
We often hear stories on the news of young people and adults being bullied by others on social media.
While social media can be an effective tool to get information out, it can also be extremely dangerous. Victoria Turrentine has more.
Social media was created for many things: connecting with family and friends, starting a business, and making connections. But what it was not created for was bullying. Teens and young adults between the ages of 12 and 20 have experienced cyberbullying. A new survey has shown that 42% of bullying appears on Instagram, while 37% appears on Facebook. You might have come across a message that may have offended you or made you feel worthless. But we are here today to tell you you are worth more than what people are saying. If you feel as if you have been mistreated, harassed, or intimidated, Facebook allows you to report those messages, mute conversations, ignore messages, and go as far as blocking the person. Instagram also allows you to report messages and mute followers where you will no longer see their post. You should also think about making your profile private. When it's private, you decide who follows you and who doesn't. Each time you report a misconduct, it gives you options to choose the extent of the treatment that you are receiving. Also, talk with a trustworthy, responsible adult about what is being said. This is your life. Take control. Just speak up. We no longer want our members to be victims of bullying. Stay blessed and stay safe.
And finally, for today's episode, let's turn to Kenry Hilton for a look at Adventist history.
This week, we hear more about the life of James White.
This week in Adventist history has seen several important events. Foremost amongst them would be the birthday of James White on August 4, 1821. Born in Palmyra, Maine, his family descended from the Mayflower Pilgrims that landed on Plymouth Rock. The fifth of 9 children, he had poor eyesight as a child and was unable to attend school until he was 19. But as a leader of the Adventist Church in the publishing work, his productivity was matched by very few. Of course, we know him as the husband of Ellen Harmon, whom he married on August 30, 1846. A man not afraid to work with his hands, James cut wood and worked on the railroad early in his married life to provide support for their family. James White later died this same week, August 6, in 1881. Also this week, on August 8, 1972, action was taken to organize the Mozambique mission as a union mission. The work first entered the territory in 1931 when 2 students from the Malamulu Mission School returned to their homes in the Portuguese East Africa. Working as lay evangelists, their labors soon reported 555 people who were attending Bible classes. Elsewhere, on August 10, 1904, Hyde Kuniya went to Korea in response to an urgent request signed by 36 people to teach them about the truth found in the Bible. It started with a Korean man, Lee Young, seeing a sign in Chinese characters that read, "The Seventh-day Sabbath, Jesus' Second Coming Church." As a Protestant, he was curious and soon met Hyde Kuniya and brought several friends, including Song Hyung Cho, who would later bring the Sabbath message into Korea. That's This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
We'd love to hear from you. Send us your feedback and tell us how your church is making a difference in its community.
Be sure to capture plenty of video footage and photos, then write up a summary of the event's important details, and feel free to send full video reports as well.
You can reach us by sending an email to annvideo11@gmail.com.
Before we say goodbye, here's some good news from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11.
The passage says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future."
That's our program for this week, and remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.